Hello, everyone. I'm the okayest bassist, and this is a Sire M6 headless multi-scale bass. I got this from my dear friend Johnny Dibble. Turns out that between the price he was asking, international shipping, tariffs, all the fun that was involved there, this bass only ended up costing about the same as an open boxed one from Sweetwater, which I was going to buy until I knew Johnny's was available. And I figured I'd get a nice little emotional attachment from my dear friend Johnny. So today we're going to do the review. So when I do a review, I always review with my 4Ps. They are playability, parts, practicality, and purchasability. So on the Sire M6 headless 5-string multi-scale bass, playability 5 out of 5. Whether it's sitting in the lap, whether it's hanging on a strap, you don't feel like you're reaching too far, and that would very well have something to do with the scale length. This one, I believe, is a 35 to 33. If I'm wrong, I'll try and remember and correct myself on screen. But as such, your standard bass strings should fit it without any trouble. You don't have to order special custom scales like multi-scale strings specific, because those are going to all be too long. But on playability, very comfortable. 5 out of 5. On parts, I struggled whether this is a 3 or whether it's a 4. I'm going to give it a 4 with a little asterisk because it could be a 3. And that's for two things. One, the string retainer system is nice with dual retaining screws. I like that because if you start farther from the string and you tighten it down and you end up tightening it too much and you compromise the string, the closer screw can have that extra oomph to hold the string for you. And the fact that they go in through the top isn't a visual deterrent, whereas on the Ibanez EHBs, you don't see the screw because it's on the back. Makes it a little more cumbersome for a string change, but I do think the Ibanez gives you a little more clean of a look as you just have some little circular studs as opposed to a full thing. However, the slots to put these strings in, if you're playing thicker, heavier gauge, you may have some trouble on the B string side. These are D'Addario ETV 92-5 tape wound strings. They are a little thicker, and it was just about all I could do to get that string in once I had put the little bit of super glue that it takes to stop the nylon from unwinding. So it was very close to having to super glue basically right at the nut and have to unwind the nylon to make it fit. So if you're playing extra heavy gauge strings, that could be a problem for you. The other thing on parts is these tuning machines. There's not much, if any, grip on this. Like you can see there's a texture, but that's a very smooth texture. I find myself wishing, and I don't think there is, I've looked, but I think, well, it looks like there might be where you can put an Allen wrench, hex wrench in here to tighten it. That might be what you want to do, especially if you're doing a string change to get the strings under tension, because there is not a whole lot of grip that you're getting on these, and you're going to be putting a lot of pressure on the pad of your fingers just to be able to tighten them. They do have a mechanical adjustment for intonation, which I love. I hate not seeing that on an instrument. And then they do have string height adjustment through your standard 2 set screws into the saddle. The way they retain the strings is there's a receiver with a circle for the ball end to go in, and then that slides under a top metal roofing, and it stops the string from being able to pop out. I do have a couple concerns on that system that you really don't want to put on a lot of headlesses. I like to put the string in, get it as minimally retained at the back as possible, and then pull it about as hard as I can to tighten it at the top so it's under the most tension, so that when I tune it, I'm already going to be turning it a bit to stretch that string, and that means I'll be able to come back to flatten that tone out if it ends up going sharp at some point. But my concern here is I almost feel like you have to pull that system back a little bit more than I normally would want to, which means you can't get a whole bunch of turning. As long as you do it right, you'll be fine. And if it turns out that you do need to take some slack out, you can always loosen the string, untighten it, and pull the string a little bit more and tighten it back up. But that seems slightly less secure to me. I also very much dislike that you can see the tuning pieces come out way past the body. Like I have my finger on the body and the tuning piece is past even my finger, which really the body would be under my finger if it were a standard body shape. So I feel like that's a risk that if the base were, if you were trying to hang it up or if you were simply trying to hold on to it and it slipped and it hit, instead of it hitting on body wood, which yes, could crack, could break, could mar a finish, this is hitting on a piece of equipment that's holding a string that's already under tension. And the only thing that holds that in is a couple of screws into the wood. So if this hits, if it hits at an angle, it's probably going to deflect. And it's going to break this tuning machine off. You're going to have the wood, glued back together and made sure it's sturdy before you try to reattach this. Pardon me. Or worse, you hit flat on it and it actually pushes it. You could break screws off in the body. You could rip part of the wood completely out. There's just a lot that I see that could go wrong as opposed to hitting body wood, like on the EHBs and on my custom Ines and Albedo. There's a bit of wood that sticks underneath, giving you room for your finger to get under for tuning, but there's body underneath those tuning heads. I think this is a cool look. I just don't think that if you're someone who's taking this bass from place to place, like gigging with it, I think that's a decent bit of risk that you're taking, that these end up hitting something or something hits them, since there's nothing kind of bracing or shielding around them. So parts, I'm giving it a 4 because the parts themselves are good. If you use a hex wrench to tighten these, you're going to be fine. If you don't have ridiculously heavy or tape wound strings, you're going to be fine. These work great. I just have concerns, but all in all, 4 out of 5. Practicality, I have to give it a 4 out of 5. As much as I love multi-scale, as much as I love headless, the long and short is the aesthetic isn't there where everybody isn't going to be comfortable. If you show up with a P bass to a gig, it's a P bass. It's been around for 50, 60 years. Nobody sees that and goes, oh my gosh, you brought something like that? This one may get that. Everything about the bass is great. It's not like anything on this. It's not a 42-inch sub-octave bass that the practicality is most of the time you're going to be playing past the 12th fret if you want, to have normal bass sound. It's not like it's a 6, 7, 8, 9 string bass that the neck's a foot wide and you're going to be tapping all the time in order to make it work. There's nothing about this bass that says it doesn't do what you need it to, but as many times the aesthetic on it, I have to dock a point, because you may show up with this and be asked, do you have a different bass that's not exactly fitting with the band that we are tonight? Finally, purchasability, 5 out of 5. It's a Sire. They're available basically everywhere. You can get these at Sweetwater. I believe Z-Sound sells them. Musician's Friend Guitar Center last I checked, they sell these as well. There's an online retailer you can go through to order this. You could order them through Sire directly. The bass is available. There's absolutely no question on shortage. They're available. You can order one, and you could probably have it in the next 2 to 3 days. If you're willing to pay extra, you might even be able to have it tomorrow. If you live near a store, it might even be in the store where you can have it today. But purchasability, 5 out of 5. That leaves our grand total to 18 asterisk out of 20. The practicality side, as I usually say, that's up to you to determine if you think my docking is worth it. It's up to you to determine if anything I'm saying is worth it to you. You're the one watching the video. I'm saying how I see my opinions in a quantifiable stat. Everything else, the parts, maybe you don't care that this sticks out and you think that that looks cool and you'd rather go with the cool aesthetic of the bridge tuning pieces sticking out past the body because that looks cooler to you. Cool. Make your own determinations, make your own. I'm just telling you what mine are. I give it 18 out of 20. If you do the math, that's an A minus. I don't know how your school grades, but it's a 90. That should be an A minus. Still an A. Has a little minus symbol, but hey, it's still the right letter. It's an A. That's what I have. That's what I think. If you disagree, say so. If you agree, say so. If you have no opinion whatsoever, say so. Put comments. It's good for the algorithms and everything else out there. But that's the review. As always, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a day as awesome as you are.